Hello everyone, I'm Sean.
This is Hoon.
And we are the Courageour Frights, back once again for another movie review.
Yes.
So this time we saw the First Omen.
Yes.
So create something to fear, it says.
Yes, it's the most scariest movie of the year, apparently.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
It might be. I don't know. We haven't seen a whole lot of horror movies this
Yes.
year. For some reason, April has a ton of horror movies.
That's the most horrifying time of the year, I guess.
Yeah, the Easter Bunny's terrifying.
Yes.
That's actually true. So the First Omen, of course, is the prequel to 1976's The Omen.
Yes.
Which I don't care what anyone says. Apparently, it's been reevaluated as a middling franchise. But to me, anyway, The Omen, the original, is one of the best horror films of all time.
Yes.
So I personally, this is where I get controversial, I personally like it better than The Exorcist. So here we have a prequel to that film, one that, as I just said, I think is one of the greatest horror films.
Yeah.
So this film does a really good job of building atmosphere.
Yeah.
I think they did a pretty good job of making it look like the 1970s, which they seem to put a lot of effort into doing that.
Yeah, because this looked very 70s.
Yeah, they seem to go out of their way to get clothing that was period accurate, cars that were accurate, like the overall setting looked good. I'm somebody who likes 70s horror movies in particular, and I'm just now starting to get into Italian horror, so which I've always kind of neglected, unfortunately. So recently I've seen a lot of Italian horror films, and this kind of reminded me of that because it was in Rome in the 70s, so like that's kind of cool. They did something, they either filmed this on film or they did a filter of some kind.
Yeah.
Because when it's outdoors, it looks like a 70s film.
Yeah.
But when it's indoors, it no longer looks like
a 2024 film.
Yeah, it's like very jarring at times.
It's really weird, yeah.
So it's like they have different filters on depending what scene they're in, or they're filmed some things on film and other things they film digitally.
I know there's a couple. Like they said, there's a couple theaters actually showed this movie in the 35 millimeter.
Yeah, so they must have filmed it on film.
Yeah,
or at least some version. They transferred it somehow to the 35 millimeter afterwards. I don't know how they did that. There was one poster that had that said it was filmed on 35 millimeter film, and I don't know if that's like real or if that was just a tagline to try and get people enticed to go see it.
Like, I know they did that one trailer that's like has like that 70s filter on it.
Yeah, the whole thing looked like
which maybe 70s. that was the cut or something. I don't know.
Maybe, I have no idea. Yeah, that would be really cool to see. I would like to see if when this gets released on DVD, Blu-ray, whatever.
Yeah,
4K. I hope there's a version of it that has like that filter on it or something.
Yeah, if it's 4K, they'll probably have it in there.
That would be cool, like a steelbook or something.
Yeah.
That has like the version that's the 70s version and this one. That would be really neat. So they put a lot of attention to that detail.
Yeah.
The guy who made this, I think, was a really big fan of like Rosemary's Baby, Possession, 1981 film. This has a lot to do with Possession. There's a scene towards the end of this movie that's literally like ripped right out of the film Possession.
Yeah.
So if that movie is a film you like, you might like this one. I feel like it had more to do with that than it had to do with The Omen, which is a problem.
Yeah, I just kind of looked at some of this. It looks like she was. I guess she was actually. This is her first movie, actually.
Yeah, I think a lot of people said a lot of the cast was like relatively fresh.
Yeah,
like
I guess she must have been doing television before, but
yeah,
like just doing episodes. But not really doing like a feature film.
Yeah. So those are my pluses, I guess. I did like the atmosphere. I liked the setting. It's a slow burn at the beginning.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit slower.
There's not a lot of jump scares.
No.
So possibly
probably like one or two or so.
Yeah, and those are unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like really stupid. Yeah, so it's not like your typical modern horror film.
Yeah.
So a lot of people might like it for that. I personally liked it. Like I said, I enjoy this movie a lot as its own thing.
Yeah.
And apparently, we didn't see Immaculate, unfortunately, but we'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
Apparently, this has a lot of parallels to Immaculate.
Yeah.
We did read the synopsis of Immaculate, and this has, like, a weird amount of parallels.
Yeah, it's very similar, surprisingly.
To a movie that just came out last month.
Yeah.
Which is probably why this film's not getting a ton of great, like, marketing or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it underperformed at the box office. And part of that is because The Omen is kind of an old franchise that a lot of, like, modern audiences might not know as well.
Yeah.
And part of it is probably because Immaculate just came out and they think this is the same thing.
And then one thing about the First Omen, I didn't really notice this movie was coming out like until like 2 months ago or something.
Yeah,
whenever that
same.
trailer showed up, it was like, oh, they're making another Omen movie?
Right.
Okay.
I think I heard about it, but I didn't know it was related to that Omen, like Damien type stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a movie called The First Omen. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be tied to The Omen for that. Mm-hmm. But it is. And I didn't realize that until the first trailer came out and everything was in reverse.
Yeah.
And then if you played it forward, you get the "It's all for you, Damien" line from the original.
Yeah.
Which weirdly happens in this movie as well.
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
It was, I would say that's one of the lower points.
Yeah, it's got problems. It's not a perfect film in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
As a film, it's not bad. It's when you tie it to the original Omen.
Yeah, because there's some glaring plot holes, I guess. They're not really plot holes, but just glaring this continuity error.
Continuity issues. I mean, it's maybe not plot holes within the film itself.
Yeah.
But there are some big continuity issues.
Within the franchise.
With the Omen, yeah.
If you're trying to be the prequel, that part has to be like right.
Right, which is, I was like, what the hell, when they started explaining some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess the general gist of it, we're not going to get into blow-by-blow description here, but the general gist is their main character is, what is that, Margaret?
Yeah, Margaret's the main character.
And she is, like, a nun in training, whatever the term for it is.
She had, like, she was kind of like a rough childhood, I guess you can say.
Yeah, they said she was like a problem child.
Yeah, rebellious child or something.
Yeah. And she had all these visions all the time.
Yeah.
And she thought that they weren't real.
Yeah.
Like the cardinal was like her priest or something.
Yeah.
And he basically convinced her that these were all just visions in her head.
Random visions.
Yeah, and nothing to worry about. It's not real.
Mm-hmm.
And then so she goes to this monastery in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And a convent in Italy. There's like an orphanage.
Yeah.
And she befriends this little girl who reminds her of herself.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, as we find out later on. But they basically just are trying to pawn this whole thing off as like a mental illness or something. Like her and the little girl, Carlita, are just mentally ill.
Yeah.
And really, there's much more going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with, like, as fans of The Omen will know, it has to do with, like, the birth of the Antichrist and all that kind of stuff. And that's what this film purports to be, is, like, the birth of Damien.
Yeah, which I guess that's a little bit different from the first movie compared to this one. That's a pretty big continuity.
That's a huge continuity error here.
Which
not many people seem to be addressing, because they're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. This film makes no sense in the Omen continuity. Because they talk about a woman needs to be impregnated by a demon that's in the form of a jackal.
Yeah.
And that right there is a problem, because in the original Omen, the mother was the jackal.
Yeah.
So
the mother was the jackal. Not in this one.
Not in this one. This one, she's a woman.
Yeah.
But I guess she's part jackal or some crap.
Yeah, because they said they had to, like, breed with his offspring or something.
Yeah, the whole thing is, I guess, they needed to have they're trying to get a male, I guess, a branch of the church.
Yeah.
Since in the 70s, people were moving away from the church. It was like the counterculture movement and all that kind of stuff. So people were moving away from the church. The church decides to create a separate branch where they basically try to bring about the Antichrist.
Yeah, because they're like the radicals in the church. They're like the normal guys, like Brennan, which...
yeah, we'll get to that.
That's a little bit different, too.
Our hero,
Brennan,
Father Brennan.
They're like the normal normal clergymen, and then you have like the extremists.
Yeah.
Which with these guys are the extremists.
Yeah. So the extremist branch decides that we'll give them something they need fear in their hearts to bring them back to the church. It's like the pure fire and brimstone type guys. And they're like, we'll give them something to cry about.
We'll give you the Antichrist.
We'll create the Antichrist, and he'll just cause so much devastation, and that it'll cause people to flock back to the church.
Yeah, which is a really flawed. That's like a flawed thinking.
The idea is they believe they can control him.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. They think they can control him and just have him do whatever he wants. Like
that's where that's the fallacy.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
But I personally thought that was alright, though, because the original Omen never really gets into explanation of what exactly the Satanists are trying to do. It's just a satanic cult that's like trying to bring about the Antichrist for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, there's like at least a better explanation as to why it's happening.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I guess it's different than the original. Original one, it was just like Satanists.
Which I guess was it. Like I said, I've never seen Omen 2, 3. I think we were talking about it a little bit. I guess the other ones had like other church church groups.
Yeah.
So they have like so it kind of connects with the other ones, I guess.
Right. I think the second one features the exorcist that lives in Israel or whatever.
Oh, okay.
It's like Bugenhagen or something. He's like in it briefly.
Yeah.
I don't remember what else. The second movie I know is like in a military boarding school or something like that.
Oh, that's kind of.
And then the third movie had Sam Neill as Damien.
Okay.
And he's an adult, like, trying to become the president or something.
Yeah.
And that one is the one that has, like, the religious order within the church that's almost like a modern day, like, Templars or something. Like some military brotherhood within the church that's, like, trying to kill Damien.
Okay.
Because in order to kill the Antichrist, you have to have these special daggers or something, and it's like this.
So they're like
process.
the Belmonts or something.
Yeah, kind of. It's like a weird thing like that.
Yeah.
So
I guess it kind of makes sense. You have different factions in the church being whatever, like different groups.
And the continuity in this is all over the place.
Yeah.
Because The Omen 3 is supposed to be set in 1984.
Oh, okay.
Which would make Damien 13 years old.
Yeah.
But he's played by Sam Neill. Who is like 30.
Hello there, fellow children.
Yeah, exactly. Sam Neill just walks into the school and like, hello there, fellow children.
Yeah.
At like a middle school.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like great.
His 5th grade classroom. It's like, hello, fellow children. But it could also be that he just has an accelerated lifespan.
Oh, yeah, that probably could be it.
Because here he goes from being conceived to birth in like a week.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
So it's possible that he has a fast lifespan.
Yeah.
Although why no one notices that is questionable.
Yeah, no one's like, why do you look like an old man?
It's like, aren't you like 13? Why are you 32?
It's like I'm reverse from Benjamin Button or whatever.
Anti-Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
But, it's... Yeah, I don't know. Like, The Omen always has issues. The Exorcist has even more issues. Because The Exorcist 2 is, like, one of the worst sequels ever made. So, The Omen's got some issues. But this movie, they flipped the mother and the father of the jackal, which was weird. And I think they did that solely so they could tell the story about like a woman's struggle with like pregnancy and all that kind of stuff. Even though, from my understanding, Immaculate did the exact same thing last month.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is really weird. It's like two nunsploitation movies in the exact same year, and like not even within a month of each other.
Yeah.
And it's like almost pretty similar stories.
And they're both about the same type of thing. Because I believe in that movie, it had something to do with them trying to create like the Messiah or something. Yeah. In this one, they're trying to create the Antichrist. Yeah. It's like almost the same. And there are a bunch of experiments that revolve like malformed babies or something. And that's in both films. So anyway, that's my one complaint with it. Another complaint I have is Father Brennan.
Yeah.
So my issue with this movie is I feel like the guy that made this is a massive fan of Possession.
Yeah.
And some other movies from the 70s and early 80s. And he likes the period.
Yeah.
but he feels like he watched The Omen like 10 years ago and then hasn't watched it since.
Yeah.
And he wrote this film entirely based on memory. Because he writes Father Brennan as if he's like this hero who's within the church and he's trying to root out the Satanist order. And he got excommunicated because he's excommunicado because of his research into the satanic branch of the church.
Yeah.
That's trying to bring about the Antichrist. Although they're not satanic, though. It's real weird.
Yeah, they're just like trying to get the Antichrist so they can have people come back to the church.
Right, yeah. It's like they're actually doing it in God's name.
Yeah.
Whereas the original, they were actually Satanists.
Yeah.
But here, Father Brennan is this guy that is investigating the church and then gets kicked out of the church. And then he's trying to figure out what's going on with the Antichrist. Mm-hmm. He knows those details, but that's it. They never really explain why he knows these things. He just does.
Yeah.
And it's like they remembered Father Brennan from the original, who was played by the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, remember that Brennan guy? He was a nice guy. He told Thorne all about it. Like, he knew all the stuff, and he was trying to tell him to save him from the Antichrist.
Yes.
And he just wouldn't listen to this nice man.
Yes.
But the reality is, Father Brennan was a Satanist who possibly was the one directly involved with the birth of Damien.
Yes.
He says in the original film that he was present for the birth of Damien.
Yeah.
He saw it happen. Here he's unconscious in a car.
He's unconscious in a car.
He gets hit. Their taxi gets like broadsided.
Yeah.
And then Margaret goes outside. Her water breaks, and she does this like thing where she has a mental breakdown and starts like undulating and dancing in the street, which is stolen directly from possession.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, and then she gets taken inside, and then they have a scene where she gives birth to Damien.
Like the cardinal shows up, or whoever that main priest guy does.
Right, it's like the moment where they would give birth to Damien and all that stuff. That whole time, Father Brennan's unconscious.
He's like unconscious in the car.
So
he got unconscious. He got hit. His head got hit so hard that he became a Satanist, I guess.
he had such a massive concussion from that car crash that he believed that he was the Satanist.
It's like, what?
He believed it so hard that he willed the 666 to form on his inner thigh.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like... He remembered enough about the satanic plot, but then he didn't remember what his part was in it after the concussion, so he assumed he actually did it.
Yeah.
Because here, he's not involved at all, but the original movie states that Father something, it's like Father Stiletto or something.
Yeah.
It's not Stiletto, but it's something like it. I don't know what it is. But he's not even in this movie.
No, which is kind of weird. It's like, that's a major character.
He's supposed to be the guy behind the whole thing. He was the cult leader in the original.
Unless it meant that main priest guy
like
was...
Bill Nye's
Bill Nighy was, but he didn't... I don't think his name was Stiletto.
No, it wasn't.
It was like just a random name.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find this.
Yeah, I don't know what the guy's name was. It was something else, but it wasn't that.
But he got stabbed in the throat though. I'm pretty sure he's like dead.
Yeah,
like,
which apparently also happens in Immaculate.
Let me see what his name. This is Cardinal Lawrence.
Yeah, Cardinal Lawrence, I think, is supposed to be the guy from the first one.
Yeah.
He's not even in this movie. So the guy from the first one was Father Spoleto. Spoleto is the guy that basically recruits Father Brennan.
Yeah.
And it's not in the movie, but in like supplementary material, maybe the novelization or the second film or something, they described that Brennan was attracted to the sexual lifestyle of the Satanists.
Yeah.
And that's why he joined them, because he was like molesting children and stuff in Africa.
Oh, jeez.
This is our hero.
That's our hero.
In the First Omen. It's like, he was a horrible guy in the original story who brought about Damien in the first place. and potentially was the one who murdered Thorne's actual son.
Yeah.
And then years later, because you have to think 5 years go by.
Yeah.
And then you were at the setting of the First Omen. Now he's had a change of heart because he has cancer.
Yeah.
And he's dying, and he has to take, like, morphine twice a day to even be able to function.
Yeah. And
now that he's on death's door, he's all of a sudden trying to get
back into good graces with, like...
With Jesus.
With Jesus. It's like...
And that's why he's helping Thorne.
Yeah.
He's not a good guy at all.
No, he's just
a villain.
Yeah, he's almost like he's just kind of looking out for himself more like anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
He's kind of a semi-reformed villain, but he's only reformed because he's trying to save his own soul.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, but here they don't do any of that. They make Brennan out to be like this good guy who's just the dude investigating the whole thing.
Yeah, he's like investigating, and he's like, oh, we know about this, let's try to kill Damien.
Yeah, they basically made him into the journalist, the reporter from the original movie.
Oh, yeah.
Who's, like, investigating the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And so, like, that's weird. There's a distinct lack of omens.
Yeah.
Because what the omen is the... In the first film, when the guy takes photographs of people, there's, like, a black line that, like, goes through into the people he's photographing. It's like psychic photography. Mm-hmm. And it's basically a sign that they're going to die in a certain way. Like, Father Brennan gets impaled by the church, like, lightning rod or whatever.
Yeah.
And the black line goes right through where he got stabbed. He sees it go through his head, and he gets decapitated later on. But that scene where, you know, the black lines on the photographs is the omen that the title's about.
Yeah.
This didn't do any of that.
Yeah, there was no photography in this movie.
This film also, like, The Omen, in my mind, I'm pretty sure The Omen was at least partially responsible for, like, the Final Destination films.
It sounds like it.
So, there wasn't a lot of that. There's a scene at the beginning that's, like, almost stupid, where the guy, Charles Dance, is talking to Brennan, and then all of a sudden thing falls on his head.
Oh, yeah, he, like, walks away, and it's like his head's, like, gone.
Yeah, it's like it's split, like, the back of his head open, and his brain's completely exposed, but he's just standing there.
He's, like smiling, like, oh, nothing's wrong.
Nothing's wrong. This is fine.
Yeah, like, this is fine.
And then the other part, the part you have a problem with,
oh,
is that one nun that looks like Mia Goth.
Yeah.
So
it's like the trailer scene. If you've seen the trailer of this movie, you've probably seen this part. Mm-hmm. Where she's like, it's all for you, but she doesn't say Damien, she says, all for you. It literally, it's a scene-by-scene remake of, like, the first scene from the first movie.
Right.
It's, like, one of the most famous scenes from that movie.
Yeah, it's a really famous scene. So, in the original Omen, Damien's first, like, caretaker, nanny, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever the heck they call them in Britain. But anyway, it's like Damien's birthday party. Mm-hmm. And she's standing there, and she looks into the woods, and there's a dog in the woods. Mm-hmm. And it's like a black Rottweiler. Mm-hmm. But it's supposed to be like a hellhound or something. And it stares at her, and it's kind of implied that it, like, possesses her or something. It compels her to climb up to the top of the manor house. And then she just stands there, and everything just comes to a dead stop, and she's like, it's all for you, Damien. And then she jumps off the thing, hanging herself, and crashes through the window.
Which this has the exact same scene, but it's like, so she catches herself on fire first.
Yeah, first she catches herself on fire, and then she does it.
Yeah, then she jumps, and it goes through, like, comes out, and she hits the crashes through the window. It's like exactly
the same thing.
It's like, that's very unnecessary. Yeah, that's like really unnecessary. That character specifically was like unnecessary.
Yeah, it's like they wanted Mia Goth, but she was filming Maxine, so
it was weird.
She couldn't do this.
It, like, literally, because she didn't explain her. And, like, she was just there. She was like, oh, she was just a girl that lived at the orphanage this whole time.
She randomly kisses Margaret on the mouth.
Yeah.
And then just does that.
Yeah.
But the original movie, she did it because she was basically possessed by the dog.
Yeah.
Here, she's not. And the reason why she does in the original movie is to get her out of the way so that Miss Baylock or whatever could come and be the new nanny. Yeah. And she's one of the Satanists. Or I guess a demon?
Yeah.
They never really say. But I guess some people online are saying she's a demon.
Probably one of these, like, cultist members or whatever, the church people.
I thought that they were going to imply that the sister, the other nun, the one that becomes a nun in the First Omen, that's her roommate, that Spanish girl. I thought that was going to be Miss Baylock.
Yeah, but her name is like, what is her name?
Lutz something or other.
She is
the actress is like Maria Caballero or something.
Yeah, she's Luz Valle.
Yeah, but they could have changed the name. Yeah. Baylock might be like some made up name or something. But I think that could have been the setup for that.
Yeah.
It's almost like, it's weird because there's so many continuity errors in this. It's almost like they set up a sequel.
Yeah, this is like a sequel to another Omen movie that never happened.
Like, are they going to remake the Omen after this? Like, actual remake it?
Yeah, which that's what it feels like.
Except for Gregory Peck's photo shows up at the end of this, so it's not like they were going to recast.
They're going to have someone in, like, Disney. It is owned by Disney.
That's true. Those CGI Gregory
They can
Peck
bring him back from the grave, I guess.
Yeah. They'll bring back Gregory Peck, CGI him in for the next one.
So,
because they've already established that he is Robert Thorne.
Yes.
So they set in motion, and that's another thing too. We got to talk about the ending to this right before we wrap up.
Yeah.
So they set up the church is moving into the Damien plot.
Yeah.
Where they're gonna go switch the baby with Thorne's kid.
Yeah.
Kill his kid, and then have Damien move in with them, and, everything from the first Omen movie.
Yeah.
I mean, the original Omen. And then we cut to Father Brennan going to a cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
Somewhere, where there's a lot of snow.
Yeah.
And we find out that Margaret Carlita, who is the other girl, who turns out to be her half-sister.
Yeah, I guess that would be.
And both their fathers are both the jackal.
Yeah, the jackal demons. So they are like, because they all have like that mark on her. Like
they all have the 666 somewhere on them. And then her daughter.
Yeah,
are all hiding out in this cabin. Now, how they afford this cabin, who the hell knows?
And I don't think the daughter. There was no daughter character, like a sister character.
No, there's no sister.
Leia. There's no Leia in.
Yeah, there's no Leia
in the Omen first one. I don't think, or even none of them.
None of them. I don't think, because the fourth one I think is a girl, but it's Damien's daughter. I think.
Yeah, that's kind of.
So as far as I know, there never was a sister to Damien.
I wonder why they would even set that up, because he warns them that they're like.
Well, this is why we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because why does Brennan show up?
Yeah.
Brennan shows up because he wants to tell them about the Damien initiative.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I need to talk to you about the Damien initiative.
Yeah.
Putting together a team.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's like, what
we
the
need
hell?
you.
Why does it turn into a Marvel movie at the end?
It comes and has like that big score shows up.
Yeah.
It's like
dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, like we need you.
Yeah. It's like, why is it turned into an Avengers film in the last minute? That final scene looked like it needed to be the post-credit scene.
Yeah, it did have that feeling to it.
It's like, why did they make a Marvel post-credit sting at the end of the... That was weird.
Even though that was a funny part of that movie, because she comes out with the gun, holding it to her back, to his back or whatever, and he's like, "Get out of here! I don't want to talk to you. You suck." And then he walks to like the woodshed, and he was like. Then he forgets where he's standing at.
I'm telling you, he had a massive concussion from that car crash.
And then he's like, "Do you know what the boy's name is? Damien."
No, he doesn't even say that.
Yeah,
he says it's stupider than that.
Yeah.
He's like, the boy has a name.
The boy.
Well, yeah, no shit, the boy has a name. I think he's just called Boy.
Yeah.
It's like, the boy has a name. It's Damien.
Damien.
And then the music starts. Oh, man. Sultany.
But that was like, I thought I was like about to laugh out loud when he walked to the woodshed. And he was like, and he was like just confusingly looking around. It's like
how do I get out of this place?
Why didn't I walk to left or right? It's like, why did I walk straight into the woodshed?
Yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, overall, it's hard to rank this film because it's like I hate the continuity issues.
Yeah, it's really bad.
That's really despise the continuity errors.
If you're making a movie that's a prequel and it's this bad continuity errors, whew, boy, yeah. It's like I said, it's almost like it's like a prequel to a movie that wasn't made.
Yeah. It's like they wanted to do a remake of The Omen.
Yeah.
Or they're going to make a parallel Omen.
Yeah.
Where they're setting up a thing where the Satanists within the church are chasing after her.
Yeah.
And her satanic family.
It'd be like all those guys. What's that one? There was like an Exorcist movie, and it had like those guys with like the cross was like the skin cross. I don't know. Have you seen that?
I don't remember.
It just kind of reminds me of that type of thing.
Yeah, but anyway, like Brennan tells them that they're going to be hunted.
Yeah.
By the church.
By the Exorcist or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the Satanists want to get rid of the satanic family. It doesn't make any sense.
The Satanists want to get rid of the mother for some reason.
The mother who's the spawn of Satan.
Even though they're pretty sure she's just hiding out in the woods because she doesn't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
So
it's
it
like
doesn't make any sense.
All the female children of Satan are all just hanging out together.
Yeah.
It's Mr. Satan's family.
Yeah, it's just like hanging out together, not bothering anyone.
One of the kid's name is Vidal.
Yeah. So it's like, it kind of doesn't make any sense at all. That literally doesn't make any sense.
No. Like, I feel like they were going to set up a sequel that was, like, running parallel to The Omen.
Yeah.
Where the Omen films follow Damien, and then this other series of films follows...
Like the family or something.
These three women.
Yeah.
And Father Brennan. Watch Father Brennan be in the sequel, and they'll forget that he died in The Omen.
He's, like, still there.
Unless this is a different Brennan.
It's just everyone's just named Brennan.
This is another Father Brennan. It's a different guy.
Yes.
It's his brother. He's also Father Brennan.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's so weird.
Yeah, it's really strange. Like it's strange as a prequel.
Yeah. Like I would say the worst part about it is the Brennan stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's really bad. And the fact that Spoleto or whatever's not even in the film.
Yeah, because that's a pretty big part of the movie.
He's the guy that started he's the head of the cult that created Damien. It's very strange.
Yeah.
But prior to that last third where everything just falls apart.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fall apart for the film itself, which is the weird part. It falls apart with its continuity to the next film.
Yeah.
If you exclude the next film, you pretend that The Omen never happened.
Yeah.
This is a fine film. It's actually a really good horror movie by itself.
Yeah, it is pretty decent by itself.
Great callback to the 1970s horror. Not only U.S. but also Italian horror.
Yeah.
There's a little tiny bit of stuff like Suspiria or Possession or something like that, or Phenomena, something like that in there. Bits of that in here because of like the orphanage and all that stuff. But the continuity issues really drag it down for me.
Yeah, I do agree with that. That's the only thing bad about these movies that are trying to connect to the older movies is you have to compare it. If it was its own movie by itself, you don't have to compare it with anything.
No.
This one you have to compare it with the originals or how it fits into the originals.
Right. If this was trying to be like an homage to the Omen, then that would be fine.
Yeah, but this is like
if it was something like Malignant, where it was like an obvious love letter to like Giallo films or something, that would be fine. But
it's like its own original IP or something,
right? But this is trying to be The Omen.
Yeah,
it would also be weird because Immaculate apparently had the same ideas.
Yeah,
like just a month ago,
which is really really strange to me. But
apparently Immaculate was in developmental hell for like a decade or something. But yeah, First Omen, I recommend it to people. Just be wary of the continuity issues.
If you know anything about, like, if you've never seen The Omen, then
if you don't care about The Omen, then
you probably would be fine with this movie for sure.
I say go check it out. I think if you do like The Omen, still check it out.
Yeah,
but
it's just if you're like big in the lore of The Omen, then you might be a little bit mad at what happened here. But
yeah, it's just stupid errors.
Yeah,
it's like why change that stuff?
As I say, it's one thing like with this type of movie or like even Exorcist, Believer, and stuff like that because you have to compare it to the originals.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is way better than Exorcist, Believer,
or like Halloween.
Yeah, it's
because
way better
you have
than
to
that,
you have to compare it to that original and the actual series and stuff like that. And it's the only problem with these type of especially nowadays. I think nowadays they've been doing this a lot. Mm-hmm. Where you just taking older franchises and just like doing prequels, sequels, or
whatever. Yeah,
and it's like. Some of these probably would have worked better as an original IP, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
this doesn't feel like The Omen.
No.
Like I said, it feels like Possession. It feels like any number of other 70s horror films. It's a great atmospheric callback to the 1970s.
Has some artistic moments and everything else.
Yeah, they're really big on artistic moments. There's a lot of scenes of her laying down, her hair sprawled out like a spider or something, and stuff like that. A lot of symbolism.
Yeah.
They're real proud of this shot they have of candles forming
like
a mouth.
Candle mouth thing.
Which looked cool until it zoomed out further and it had 2 lantern eyeballs.
It looks pretty goofy.
And it looked like Oblina from Real Monsters.
Yeah.
But it's a weird film to rate if you've seen all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you're a casual horror fan, you've never seen any of these movies, this will go. You'll really like
because I didn't really think about, because I haven't seen The Omen since college. Like, I have not seen it recently, so I didn't know any of this stuff.
Yeah,
like I remember that scene with the girl saying "all for you," which that's what kind of annoyed me. I was like,
oh yeah, because that even annoyed you.
Yeah, I was like, I know what that scene is. That's the exact same shot for shot remake of the scene.
And why? Like
it just had no point.
Yeah, what was the point of doing that?
Yeah, but knowing everything else, it's pretty good as its own movie.
Yeah, I think it's a great film.
Yeah,
by itself. It's just, if you compare it to The Omen, it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up.
It's got some problems continuity wise.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's going to do it for a review of The First Omen.
Yes.
So I think we both agreed to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And hit the like button for this. Tell us what you thought of The Omen in the comments below, or The First Omen, or any of the Omens.
Yes.
Tell me what you thought about The Omen 4.
Yes.
TV movie. Tell me what you thought about the TV series from 2016.
Yeah.
Or the novelizations.
Yes.
Or the novel sequel from 1984. So you can do all that. Anything Omen related. It's all for you, Damien.
Yes.
And remember that you too can feel the strength welling within. See ya.
See ya.